Hello, folks. Long time no video. Well, you're still not getting one. Actual videos take time to make. I haven't had any time, so I'm doing something lazy, something that's not really content. It's more what lazy people pass off as content. This is me reacting to something. Reacting to GQ Magazine's The 100 Greatest Video Game Titles of All Time, ranked by experts. This is an article that GQ posted today from my point of view on the 11th of May. I'm going to go through all of it, so sit down. We'll be here for a while and see what the experts have decided. But you may be wondering, who are the experts? Well, the experts, as they say, we ask the world's greatest game developers, streamers, why would you ask them? I don't know. Directors, writers, and more to help us crown the best games of all time. So let's dig into the article a bit with some background about what they actually did. And it reads as follows. Greatest games of all times lists have, for all time, gone the same way. A team of video game journalists, or something similar, sit down and put together a ranking that is almost predetermined, a seemingly canonical hall of fame that attempts to cover off as many bases as possible. Here at the GQ, we thought we'd embrace chaos instead, rather than shuffle Ocarina of Time and Dark Souls and Ico across a big list. According to our own whims, we decided to go to get our friends involved. Now, this is a really good take. Every goddamn top 10 list of best games of all time is Ocarina of Time and Dark Souls now. Ico shows up from time to time, and it's really a really striking game, but Ocarina of Time is number one. I mean, whatchamacallit, one of those, the Game Facts used to have a best character of the year poll every year, and it'd always be a Link. And then, as a joke, they put the L shape in Tetris once, and next year it was Mario again for the 50th time or something. So yeah, I get why they try to do this. To not have just Zelda at the top of the list again, and Dark Souls again. Ico, maybe it's anything. So we gave the industry at large a blank canvas on which to determine their own criteria of best, to see where the chosen games differ and where they're similar, so to the traditional accepted canon. That meant gathering together a massive collection of our favorite developers, streamers, again, why streamers, directors, and journalists in the business. Think of it as an Avengers Assemble moment. Perhaps, who knows? The list is quite long, so we'll see. Each voter had one task: pick a personal ranked top 10 list. A game in the first receives 10 points. A game in the 10th place receives 1 point. We invited 300 individuals to participate. I wasn't among them. I don't know why I would have been, or why I'm saying this. And received 239 final lists, with an incredible 652 games receiving 1 vote or more. Our winner not only received the most votes, but also placed in people's number 1 more than any other rival. For us, the list is one of many different stories, from surprising newcomers like 2019's Disco Elysium, which I have bought 2 years ago. I have not played it yet, making an incredible deep run in the rankings, to a complete absence of mega franchises names like Assassin's Creed. Okay, Assassin's Creed 2 would have probably should have been on the list, to be honest. Rest of them, don't care. It's a mix of new, old, and very old, with blockbusters and indies from every genre and from studios in every corner of the world. There are familiar faces, often in surprising places, and a couple of inclusions we didn't expect. I think I proofread this because that's a mistake I would also make, and have done so many times. Now you're seeing it live. Okay, you can see how it all shook out below. So let's get started. I'm gonna basically read what's written under each game, what the game is, what's written under it, and then give my own take. So, number 100, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2004. Honestly, I expected this to be much higher. The greatest Star Wars game ever made doesn't mention a Skywalker or Palpatine. Thank God. Bioware's magnificent prequel tale offers up a story that feels simultaneously like the space operatics of Star Wars and the personal sci-fi of Bioware, with memorable characters, a shocking late-game reveal, and worlds you never saw in Lucas's films. A remake was announced in 2021. It's still not out. Yeah, Old Republic, absolutely banging, great game. I don't know why it's so low on the list, though. I expected this to be easily top 20. Anyway, moving forward. Rez. Although the closest Sega's Dreamcast ever came to a commercial success was its sponsorship of Arsene Wenger's swaggering Arsenal FC side, I don't know what that means. The inimitable console was home to a ragtag gang of bona fide classics. Chief among them was Rez, a musical rail shooter that was as trippy as it was dizzyingly inventive. Have not played it. I've played basically no Dreamcast games, or well, it was also on the PlayStation, but no, did not play this. So, yeah, it looks neat. Number 98, Age of Empires 2, Age of Kings. To those 12-year-olds who also tried and failed to wage warfare solely via a battalion of prohibitively expensive trebuchets, we salute you. This is pretty much the perfect description of the game. Yeah, that's how a lot of us went into the game when we didn't know it. Oh, what's the biggest, most expensive war machine that I can make? A trebuchet. And it never worked out the way we wanted to. This, completely agree. Kind of thought this would be higher. But yeah, that's a superb description. Good job, GQ Magazine. 97, The Return of the Obra Dinn, 2018, from Lucas Pope. A ghost ship, a missing crew, an engrossing investigation, the return of the Obra Dinn style. One-bit monochromatic black and white style, not seen since the earliest games, makes it stand out. But it's the fierce intelligence of its design from solo creator Lucas Pope that really sets it apart from its contemporaries. I've been meaning to pick this up for 5 years, but yeah, this definitely is a game that should be on a top 100 best games list. Super Mario Bros. Expected this to be first. It's usually the go-to bucket, but they said they wanted to avoid this. So if you ever find yourself questioning Shigeru Miyamoto's genius, then know that he near on perfected the platforming genre in the space of a year, while also making the first The Legend of Zelda at the same time. Seems exhausting just thinking about it. Yeah, I mean, as platformers go, the first Mario game, the first Super Mario game, not the Mario Brothers game, the first Super Mario Brothers game is still one of the best. It's just bang on good, without any doubt. And yeah, they snuck in this Zelda reference there because, you know, another game came out, or is coming out. It's being reviewed right now, so it's coming out. So it kind of makes you think, why are there so many Zelda references? I mean, but next one's Ultima, they probably can't fit in a Zelda reference there. So Ultima Underworld, the Stygian Abyss. As you may know, this is one of my favorite games of all time. Its revolutionary 2.5D visuals. Actually, it was honestly more 3D than Doom was. I don't think this was actually 2.5D. There were polygons involved, if I'm not mistaken. I distinctly remember polygons. Its revolutionary 2.5D visuals might not stand up in the cold light of 2023. Well, not with that screenshot. Also, this screenshot's from Ultima Underworld 2. Because that's the Guardian. He wasn't around back then. And well, he was, but he wasn't in Ultima Underworld. But there's no mistaking the Stygian Abyss's ongoing impact on role-playing games to this day. Puzzle-filled dungeons, a peerless physics system, sword combat with fantasy nasties, and often infuriating weapon durability system. Sounds an awful lot like another old-timer starring a chap in a blue tunic, doesn't it? They compared Ultima Underworld to the last Zelda game. They compared the progenitor of the immersive sim. They compared the game that is responsible for Deus Ex existing, for System Shock existing, for Thief existing, for any first-person game. The entirety of Bethesda's work is centered a lot around the existence of this game. And all they can muster for it is saying, "Well, oh yeah, the weapons degrade, so it's like Zelda." It wasn't just the weapons that degraded in the game. You could chop down doors. You had freedom in this game. You had realism is probably not the best word to describe it, because you're in a dungeon that's filled with lizard people saying "Bika Shoria Klik." Actually, it's Bika Yeshor Klik. Those among you who have studied the lizard folk language have picked up on my joke earlier. This was a groundbreaking game, and it's remembered as a lead-in to a Zelda reference. My God! Who wrote which one of you two wrote this, and why? That's just bad. Okami. I wonder how they're gonna fit Zelda. Oh, there it is, yeah. Timeless art, the near-perfect Famitsu score didn't stop Okami from being a flop, taking years to surpass a million copies sold. Nowadays, it's revered for its painterly style and Zelda-like mechanics. Developer Clover Studio shut its doors for good just a few months after release. This is why we can have nice things. I think I own this. There may have been a remaster at some point that came out on PC. I have not played it though, but I kept hearing good things about it. It's about a dog. Okay, not like a game about a dog. Speaking of which, Fable 2, the game that isn't on PC. That's the good one, with a dog. Lionhead's Lionhead's lofty ambition of a choice-driven RPG peaked with Fable 2. More dynamic, more heartfelt, and more accomplished than the 2004 original, Fable 2 created one of the most quintessentially British worlds ever played in a video game, with a morality system that lets you run wild with paragon good or devilishly evil deeds, or just farts. Really with farts. No Zelda mentioned, so yeah. Fable 2 is a game I really wish had come out on PC, but it was released during that time when Microsoft really wanted to murder PC games, or at least get you to pay money for multiplayer and achievements. Because, you know, that's what their captive audience on the Xbox did, so why shouldn't you on Windows? You're also a captive audience. Hey, buy Vista for DirectX 10. Look at the differences between this flight simulator game running on DirectX 8 and this one running on DirectX 10. That's a reason to buy it. Moving on, 92, Mass Effect from 2007. A game that makes you feel good about punching a journalist while also making you feel bad for fancying a polygonal alien. Mass Effect was BioWare's big new punt at a not Star Wars space opera IP about evil squids destroying the universe. It was great, but the series' best moment were yet to come. I disagree with the series' best moment having yet to come. This was the series' best moment. Also, evil squids destroying the universe, that's basically the plot of Anachronox. The chaos in Anachronox, your enemy, at the end it's revealed they're just squids. They're squids that were frozen on the planet, well, the artificial planet Anachronox. They were imprisoned there, and they're squids. Also, making you feel good about punching a journalist. You guys aren't really, up to speed on the whole murdering journalists is not really a good thing, right? Okay. Grand Theft Auto 4. But yeah, going back, yeah. Mass Effect 1, loved it. Grand Theft Auto 4. Cousin. Actually, I should be doing this in my accent, my normal accent. Cousin announced when Xbox exec Peter Moore revealed the series logo tattooed on his bicep at E3. Grand Theft Auto 4 did away with I was going to say chicken shit, with the kitchen-sinking approach of San Andreas in a then staggering recreation of New York City. You might not be able to base jump off mountains, but it's one of Rockstar's best, most affecting stories. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 4 was fantastic. I wish the PC version worked a bit better on release. The cracked version, if you don't remember, also had the DRM thing in it that caused cars to catch on fire if you drove them for more than 30 seconds. Grand Theft Auto 4 would have expected it to be higher. But yeah, it's an absolutely great game. Number 90, Super Mario Kart. The only Mario Kart game without the blue shell is the one that, that ranks in our top 100. Coincidence? We think not. Yeah, haven't really played much Super Mario Kart. I mostly played Wacky Wheels, which was our version of Super Mario Kart. But yeah, it's a nice game. It's good that it's here. 89. Okay, this is unexpected. Hitman World of Assassination. Formerly a trilogy curated expertly curated stealth games, the World of Assassination series became one package in 2021, with Interactive making every level available via Hitman 3. With that, the team consolidated an ultraviolet. Again, the spell checking is to my level. I appreciate that. I mean, it's a big list. Things got lost along the way. I mean, you have to make deadlines, and that new Zelda game is coming out like now. So an ultra-violent sandbox of F1 sabotage. What? The race in Miami, that's not Formula 1. Industrial wine pressing catastrophes. That does happen. And death by toilet drowning as a globe-trotting murder sim par excellence. Yeah, the World of Assassination started off a bit rough. Paris, I want to say, is the best map ever made for Hitman. Maybe not the greatest to introduce the new series with. It's a step up from Absolution. Mechanically wise, it still has some leftovers from Absolution which do not do its service. It still hasn't captured the gameplay charm of that, well, the gameplay depth and finesse that, well, in some areas that Blood Bunny had. But then when Sapienza hit, like, Sapienza is one of the best maps ever made in any game. It's just magnificent, and they kept on getting at least as good as time went on, and some of the issues with the gameplay were resolved a bit. Not completely, but a bit. And they added the freelancer game mode, which kind of still sucks. I still don't really find it enjoyable, apart from the final mission of each contract, where you don't know who your target is and you have to identify them. That's the good part. You have to trudge through a lot of repetition to get to the good part. The Last Guardian, 2016. Divisive in a way that many games don't have the courage to be these days. The Last Guardian saw you make friends with a giant dog bird creature called Trico and proved to be as hungry as he was impetuous. Those with the patience for director Fumito Ueda's eccentricities, as well as a 9-year development cycle, would find another unforgettable adventure from the Ico and Shadow of the Colossus creator. Yeah, I remember this being announced. I remember this being delayed a lot. This was announced as almost a launch title for the PlayStation 3. Or, well, not necessarily a launch title. I mean, Nier was... Not Nier. Nier? Not Nier, the other one. What was it called? Neo was a launch title for the PlayStation 3. And then they delayed it, and then changed the character to look like Geralt of Rivia. He didn't look like that initially, and the character he's based off does not look like that. But hey, have not played The Last Guardian. I believe Penny Arcade said it best when the first trailer came out. You know how this game's gonna end, right? Either the kid dies, or the big dog dies. Not sure if that's how it ends. Probably is. But yeah, it seems like a great game. Super Mario Odyssey. Honestly, we're sold from the moment you could use a plumber's hat to mind control a T-Rex. Yeah, I absolutely get this take. It's like, look at it. Even I want to play it, and I don't really like Mario games that much. Okay, this is a big one. 86, Civilization 5. Just two strategy games under our list, and Civ 5 is utterly deserving of... Hold on a minute. If you have just two strategy games made our list. Who the hell did... Oh yeah, you asked streamers. You asked God's mistake to give you a list of top 100 games. Just two strategy games made our list, and Civ 5 is utterly deserving of that distinction. Firax's fifth entry into the long-running Sid Meier's franchise reshaped the 4X genre completely, taking the grid-based design of previous Civilization games and transforming it into a hexagon map. Its legacy of hour-sapping, one-more-turn Moorishness stretches over a decade now. Civ 5 was really controversial when it came out. One reason was the switch to Hex, which I actually think is a good idea. Armies no longer overlapped. That made turns so much faster. My God, you have no idea how much faster a Civ game is now compared to what it was before. But it did lose a lot of complexity, and to really shove those DLCs in your face to get that complexity back, that enjoyment, that depth, that... how should I put this? There's a number of elements that you can remove from something before it stops being that thing, and Civ 5 was kind of there doing it, but you could add them back with the DLCs, and with the DLCs it's an absolutely fine game. I think it's better than 4 with all the DLCs in it, but it's the base game. Number 85, Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn, the poster child for games with a disastrous launch that turned out to be great. Naoki Yoshira's salvage job of Final Fantasy XIV remains as unlikely as it is astonishing, perhaps more than any other title here. Attempting to pin down what makes this sprawling MMORPG so beloved is nigh impossible. For many fans, this is the pinnacle of storytelling in a now 35-year-old franchise. Yeah, the release version of Final Fantasy XIV was such a bad game that it basically killed every other studio owned by Square Enix. IO Interactive was basically murderized. Crystal Dynamics just got thrown out the window. Deus Ex kind of got killed by it a bit. But now, in its new version, it is a great game. One that I have no intention of playing because I don't think basically any modern MMO gets what an MMO should be. They all just do EverQuest, and it sucks. And the thing that bothers me most is that Shroud of the Avatar also uses kind of the same language as an MMO, like an EverQuest style MMO, and its controls and its movement, and I really hate that. Not that you should not play it. I mean, if you like that kind of trappings for an MMO, go for it. It says right here, it's fantastic. Shenmue, finer forklift driving sim has yet to be made. No. I know several German-made forklift driving games that are better. Proof that video games are often at their best when they are unashamed to get weird. Deeply, profoundly weird. Yeah, absolutely agree. The weirder a game is, the better. Oftentimes. I have not actually played this. I own it. I think I own the entire series. Have not played it. So, 83. BioShock Infinite. A nation overrun by religious zealotry that's infiltrated the conservative movement and seen its populace succumb to racism and xenophobia. Couldn't happen anywhere but in Colombia, could it? Yeah, that's the game kind of predicted a lot. I really wish BioShock Infinite tried a bit more to be like the previous BioShock games, and maybe some BioWare games as well. They did a lot with the story and the characters, but so little with the actual gameplay. So little. It was more like playing a Medal of Honor. Okay, not a Medal of Honor game. A Call of Duty game than it was playing a Bioshock game, and that made me sad. Dragon Age Origins, number 82. The first in a high fantasy trifecta that released between 2009 and 2015. Wasn't there a fourth one? We see also Skyrim and The Witcher 3. Origins cemented the developer Bioware status as a near unparalleled RPG storyteller while expanding its horizons with expansive character customization and rich combat mechanics, all of which the developer will be surely looking to recapture with the upcoming Dragon Age Dreadwolf. I liked Dragon Age Origins when it came out. I was kind of disappointed that the promised combination system of magic didn't really turn out to be much. You could combine maybe one or two spells, but it was nothing like eventually you would get to see in Divinity Original Sin, which is a shame. Didn't like the marketing for it, where it just tried to ape The Witcher as much as possible. They were really driving that home, and they took a lot of inspiration from material that from The Witcher. Probably not a coincidence that they were basically helping CD Projekt promote The Witcher for a long time. But yeah, liked Origins. Did not like 2. Haven't played the rest. Moving on. Fortnite. Oh god, Fortnite. A pop culture mashup machine featuring everything from Chris Nolan's movie trailer debut to Travis Scott concerts. Fortnite is the closest we've come to a real metaverse in 2023. For kids, growing up nowadays, it's practically a rite of passage at number 81. Fortnite, not for me. I can totally see its appeal. I can also probably see me having wrist surgery if I try to play it. It's not a game for the old. It's a game for really quick kids. Well, actually, technically, since they expanded it so much, you can do pretty much anything in it. It's kind of like that metaverse thing, but not the Facebook one, the the Snow Crash one. Number 80, Firewatch, Campo Santo's first and only game before being subsumed by Valve in 2018. Firewatch is a pastel-colored adventure about loss, isolation, and estrangement. The game even inspired youngsters like Jack Keighley to campaign to save real Firewatch towers in the United States. A spiritual successor, The Valley of the Gods, has reportedly been put on hold, but it's oblique. I would have said oblong, not oblique. Immersive spiritual lives on in Half-Life Alyx, on which multiple team members collaborated. Have not played it. Heard a lot of good things about it. Oh yeah, we're getting the Tetris, people. The Tetris effect. Take one of the most iconic 2D games of all time and add a sumptuous soundtrack. That's the basic premise of the Tetris effect. Designed by Res mastermind Tetsuya Mizuguchi. Yeah, I pronounced it probably correctly. Tetris Effect's various modes have you busting blocks to the beat while vivid colors explode off the screen. A truly transcendent experience in virtual reality. Yeah, I would love to play this in VR. It just looks amazing. A while ago, years ago, we didn't really have a lot of games, so we used to pass the time by looking at the visualizer in Winamp. And it was just beautiful to see all those shapes and colors and listen to the music and just imagine riding the waves, the sound forms as they moved about and changed into different shapes. And that was an experience. And this sounds like basically that, but you're playing it. 78, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Yes. There are entire childhoods with just one core memory, trying to get a 1080 in the half pipe in the hangar level for absolutely no reward bar your own sense of accomplishment. Wouldn't have had it any other way. Yeah, absolutely agree. This is a superb game. It's just fantastic, and yeah, I would do that a lot. I mean, I saw him do it at the X Games on Eurosport decades ago. Of course I wanted to do that in a game. Who wouldn't? Number 77, The Secret of Monkey Island. Yes, absolutely. Monkey Island is where it is at, and it's under a Pokemon game, but hey, it's still it's there. Worth its spot for the invention of insults. Of pardon, it's late. It's late. It is really late for me. Worth its spot for the invention of insult sword fighting alone. Now I know what filth and stupidity really are. I'm glad to hear it. Your family reunion, yeah. Monkey Island is a superb game, and it's an anti-adventure game. It's an adventure game that is. It was parodying, it was satirizing its own genre back then. It was being meta about its own genre back then. It was astounding, and the sequel was superb, and the third one came, and it was really good in its own way. And the fourth one nobody likes, and the fifth one, well, Tales of Monkey Island, is it has its own charm. And then the last one came, and I should probably do a video about it at some point, because there's kind of feel that that game was made because somebody just wanted it to stop, to leave it to be left alone. It felt more like it than wanting to just have one last ride. Moving on, Pokemon Silver and Gold. One of the Pokemons, who cares? Widely regarded by the Poke Hardcore. Oh my god, there's Poke Hardcore people. As a series high mark, Gold and Silver were so assured of themselves that their post-game featured almost the entirety of Pokemon Red and Blue's country region. This seems even more of a flex in 2023, when many games struggle to ship their first level out the door in a fully functional state. Pokemon is really low tier in terms of gameplay, in terms of pretty much anything. It's a random encounter generator with some really dumb creatures made by somebody pulling out numbers from a hat. Anyway, 75, Metroid Prime. Like much of the Metroid franchise, Prime's existence feels like a borderline miracle, and its recent remastered incarnation does nothing to dissuade us from that notion. Created by the Texas-based Retro Studios largely in the space of just 2 years, it took the series' themes of isolation and exploration and transplanted them into what is still Nintendo's only first-person shooter of note. Yeah, Metroid is a great franchise, most of it, and Metroid Prime is superb. I've played bits of it. I keep meaning to play more of it. I keep not having time for it. But yeah, Metroid Prime is fantastic. I would have expected it to be higher though. Number 74, Undertale. Certainly the only game on this list to have been gifted to the head of the Catholic Church. Really? Undertale was what YouTuber Matt Pat really decided to give to Pope Francis when an internet summit was held at the Vatican. That guy went to the Vatican, and we can only hope Pope Francis attended the pacifist from WoW. That just makes me hate the game. Now, I haven't played it. I've owned it for a while. I think I should probably play it at some point, because it seems like it really is a great game. Number 73, Final Fantasy VI. The last one of the 2D Final Fantasies occupies a uniquely macabre place in the franchise history, considering its sequel saw one lead character impaled by a giant samurai sword. That is really quite saying something. I've played the intro of it a bunch of times, but I never got to play the rest of it, sadly. Didn't really get to play many of the Final Fantasy games before either. It was basically 7 and 8 for me. Those were the ones that I played the most. And 7 is the only one that I actually liked. 8 just got stupid by like halfway through disc 1. Well, not halfway, let's say 3/4 through. Okay. 72, Yakuza 0. Yakuza fans are a lot like WWE obsessives, listening to them explaining how managing a hostess bar, building a real estate empire, or fine-tuning your batting cage skills is just as essentially as seizing control of a Tokyo crime syndicate in these games is an utterly incomprehensible experience. Until you watch almost any video clip of its sensorial overload and effect, and playing anything else seems pointless. I've played and finished Yakuza 0 and the remake of the first Yakuza. Yeah, I get it. Yakuza 0 is a good game. Has some annoying bits, but it's fundamentally so goddamn goofy. It tries so much to have a heart, to have pathos, to have like a weird boner for criminals that's it's constantly showing them as heroes and people to look up to revere, to respect. Criminals, pimps, murderers, people who would shove an old lady down a subway track. But you know, every culture has its issues with this criminal element. Oh boy, does it ever. But yeah, Yakuza 0, great game. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare and number 71. A relentlessly lean campaign and a multiplayer mode that would change online gaming forever. Modern Warfare took the Call of Duty franchise from the battlefields of World War II and Vietnam and gave it a colder, more nuanced ethos. Because what if war isn't always fun? Its Pripyat mission through the Chernobyl exclusion zone undergrowth remains unforgettably harrowing. Yeah, I liked the first Modern Warfare game. I thought the campaign maybe was a bit too excited to show you all its toys and just rushed you a bit too quickly through each of them, but it meant that no scene overstayed its welcome, and I think it did a good job of showing that pretty much everybody in the war is a bastard. I mean, you do some unspeakably bad things in that game at some points. You cause things that are bad to happen, and I think it's still a good game today. And as for the multiplayer bit, I mean, it's Counter-Strike with achievements, basically. So it's faster than Counter-Strike, but it really, well, yeah, it did change online gaming in the sense that it invented the screeching 12-year-old shouting obscenities over Xbox Live. So yeah, there's that. Number 70, Left 4 Dead 2. Not all zombie games are thoughtful meditations on humanity's true nature. Some demand you bludgeon hordes of undead with an electric guitar or a chainsaw. Left 4 Dead 2 should not have been a full game. It was basically Left 4 Dead 1 with some extra features. It invalidated Left 4 Dead 1. This should have been an expansion. This should not have been a separate release, a full price release. So close to Left 4 Dead 1. That was just that was like an absolute cash grab from Valve. They knew they had a hot ticket item and they just, abused it. But yeah, Left 4 Dead 2 is good. Now, back then, if you bought Left 4 Dead 1, buddy, you got screwed so hard. Number 69. Nice. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Oh, there's a Zelda game here. How shocking. But yeah, it's a good game. What's there left to achieve after you've made what was the undisputed gaming GOAT? Really? In Ocarina of Time. Scarred an entire generation with cosmic nightmare fuel, of course. See that there hasn't been like a Zelda reference in some time, so may as well reference Ocarina of Time as being the greatest game of all time. Because of course it is. I mean, why wouldn't it be? This article isn't sponsored by Nintendo. But yeah, Majora's Mask is one I haven't played. I played Ocarina of Time. I was amazed by Ocarina of Time. Well, I'm going to probably talk about it when it shows up eventually here in the top 10. So we'll get to that soon. But yeah. Number 68, Thief the Dark Project. One of the rare video games that can be completed without leaving a trail of corporeal destruction in your wake. Thief pioneered the stealth genre as we know it, and so, like a guard who loudly declare they've their every waking thought to the shadows, which were duty-bound to proclaim its pioneering excellence to the cold and carrying void that is the internet. Now, technically, you could kind of do that with Ultima Underworld as well, a bit, mostly. Maybe on occasion a murder or two, but I also wouldn't say that it pioneered the stealth genre as we know it, because very few games are as good at stealth as Thief was. Most modern games understand stealth as the character hides in tall shrubbery. Look, the tall grass even has the same color as our hero. Oh my god, we are so innovative. We should deserve a medal. We'll make a medal and give it to ourselves, and then complain on Twitter that, oh, you shouldn't call that kind of design lazy. We're not being lazy. But you're not making Thief either. Thief was so goddamn ahead of everything in stealth today. There's no comparison. Also, Metal Gear kind of did this also before Thief. It did it quite well. Metal Gear 2 especially. But yeah, it is certainly an absolutely joyous game. Maybe a bit more difficult to get by some people today, but yeah, definitely give it a try. Look, another Zelda game. Number 67, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. In fairness to those genre gamers who lost their tiny minds upon Wind Waker's 2001 Space World reveal, what's a Space World? The spiritual successor to Ocarina of Time did seem like an almighty gamble. At a moment when Nintendo desperately needed to prove that its wares weren't just for kids, here was its Hero of Time in a playable anime form. The GameCube might have tanked harder than the Master Sword through Ganondorf's skull come Link's final boss fight, but it remains that dinky console's crowning achievement. Yeah, this, like the whole cel-shaded style exists because of this, so you can blame it if you hate it. You can endure it if you love it. I've not played it, but I think it really tried to do something interesting. Number 66, Fallout New Vegas. A game strung together with nothing but bargain bin duct tape. New Vegas still makes this list thanks to its incredible approach to RPG choice making. Yeah, they were in such a goddamn terrible time crunch to make this that it's amazing what they achieved. Now, sure, it did help that a bunch of the people working on it also worked on the cancelled Van Buren Fallout 3 pitch. The design doc is still freely available on the web. I think somebody's actually trying to make it in the Van Buren engine, the demo at least. Somebody's trying to make it, but yeah, New Vegas is great. Buggy as all hell. I hated so much of it because of the bugs, because of goddamn Boone stepping on every single goddamn mine he could find and getting me killed. Goddamn Boone and his goddamn hat. 65, GoldenEye 007. Forget Shrek Smash and Crash Racing. What? E.T. the Extraterrestrial and really any Kingdom Hearts game. GoldenEye 007 remains the greatest movie tie-in ever made, responsible for demonstrating the viability of a first-person shooter genre on consoles. It popularized the deathmatch mode that became the core pillar of such multiplayer series as Halo, Time Splitters, and Call of Duty moving forwards. Now, popularized deathmatch, maybe on consoles, yeah, but deathmatch, really, the first person multiplayer shooter literally was just a deathmatch game where you'd be chased around by dinosaurs or something. Anyway, yeah, I get it. I mean, GoldenEye really set a high bar for console FPS games. It's also incredibly easy to play with a keyboard because there's auto aiming up the wazoo. I mean, it's got more auto aiming than Doom somehow. But yeah, definitely worth it being here. It set off maybe the darkest timeline of every shooter now being a console game, but hey, it's something. Persona 5, hands down the best 100 hours you spend in the company of a swaggering anthropomorphic Morphic cat. Let's say you've watched My Neighbor Totoro for 500 times. There's about 100 hours of cat bus in there, I would say. But yeah, this cat also turns into a bus. I have not played any of the Persona games. I've been meaning to at some point. I have friends that just rave about this, and yeah, I totally get it. The Sims 2 from 2004. There's more to The Sims 2's considerable legacy than its appeal beyond what was then the gaming core's demographic of Kalashnikov-loving young men. Oh, Counter-Strike. Given how the sequel doubled down on appealing to players outside such a narrow bubble, you know it's based on a series of city builders, right? The Sims 4 currently claims 60% of its audience is women between the ages of 18 and 24. We'd be remiss if not celebrating such a pioneering approach in what can still be depressingly insular industry. I thought we're over it. I thought that the majority of video game players were female. I mean, if we count Kim Kardashian's Hollywood, probably 70% of them are. I thought that was the agreed upon idea that we came to once we couldn't find any more ways to train that women in video games idea for money. Guess not. Guess there's still money to be made. Castlevania, Sims 2. Kind of didn't like that it, removed some of the things that The Sims 1 added in its DLC and its expansions, but that's the core formula of the Sims series. The next one resets to 0 and sells you more DLC, more content. But yeah, I like The Sims. I really like The Sims. I think it's a great idea for a game. But it goes too much into the buy IKEA furniture, you consumerist pig, for my liking. Number 62, Symphony of the Night, aka the Vania in the Metroidvania genre that's defined every major naughties in the hit for note from Hollow Knight to Dead Cells, as well as Hideo Miyazaki's Souls franchise. Hold on, you're saying that the Souls did not originate the idea of the way it's structured? Symphony of the Night deserves better than to be known for all the classics and inspired. If nothing else, it still boasts one of the gaming's most iconic plot twists while whipping you way through Dracula's undead hordes. Remains bloody, brilliantly fun. Yeah. So I've played a bunch of Symphony of the Night. I don't think I ever got to finish it, but yeah, it is super good. Super good. Also, I should have Dark Souls in there. Is Dark Souls going to be the first number one? It's going to be a Zelda game, isn't it? Number 61, Grand Theft Auto 3. Revolutionary for its 3D open world, Grand Theft Auto 3 had unparalleled freedom for the time. Voice acting, mission design, world building, and a gritty city underbelly atmosphere, all combined for a video game that changed everything forever. Rockstar would somehow deliver 2 sequels in the following 3 years, a feat that's all the more impressive how now the GTA 5 has gone, it's late. Now the GTA 5 has gone a decade without a successor. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3 just blew everything away. It was the game. I don't think there is a way to describe it now to somebody who wasn't in the game back then. This was the game. This was it. Like it went even beyond what Halo 3 was. Like this was universal. You didn't need to, space aliens. They know what that thing was about. No, this was it. This was the biggest thing possible. At the cultural impact level, at just a saturation of society level, I don't think any game has come close to GTA 3 ever since. Some may have come before it, like reached the same level, but since then, The gaming, populace has splintered and diversified so much that there hasn't been one single game that just captured everybody, like GTA 3 did, and it was amazing. Speaking of amazing, 60, Super Metroid. Arguably the most subversive game in Nintendo's entire back catalog and certainly one of the most influential. Super Metroid pits its feline action hero against the merciless flora and fauna of an alien planet. Although much of this oppressive vibe is carried from its NES predecessor, Samus Aran's third adventure is elevated by the fresh intricacies of 16-bit level design of its 16. Pardon again, it's late. That and the fact that its difficulty was dialed back from so crunchingly brutal this time around. Yeah. I love Super Metroid. In terms of world design, visual and audio design, it is absolutely exceptional. Its level design also, just how it's laid out, how you progress, is probably second to none. It is a masterpiece. It's only at 60 though, so man, oh boy. There's probably something good coming later up. Fallout 3 at 59. Really? Over New Vegas? Really? Really? Would you leave the relative safety of an underground vault to venture out into an irradiated hell on Earth in order to find your lovely dad, who is Liam Neeson? Your answer may vary, but one thing is sure, Bethesda made a mighty fine RPG out of that very question. So, mixed feelings about Fallout 3. I don't hate it like it seems to be, popular to do nowadays since H. Bomber guy released that video of his. But I also don't think it's super great compared to the previous ones. I liked it. I thought it did okay. What it tried to do, it did super well. Like the atmosphere, the music, the visuals. The gameplay, to a lesser degree, but it's far from being Oblivion with guns, as every goddamn moron on the net kept saying, including some of my moron friends, back when it was first announced. Speaking of Oblivion, 58, Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Oblivion's step-out moment when you leave an introductory dungeon and see the game's vast world was one of the defining moments of the Xbox 360 era and practically paved the way for open-world RPGs on consoles. Plus, they managed to get Patrick Stewart to do about 9 seconds of voice work. Not bad for 2006. I did not like Oblivion. I should probably clarify. There are two things that maybe made me absolutely not want to play Oblivion. One, the interface. It was goddamn horrible compared to Morrowind's. Yeah, I know. It worked on the console now. It was an interface that was really okay for a console, but for PC, goddamn, no. Goddamn no. Second, you couldn't stack clothes. In Morrowind, you could have a tunic that hid your armor. You could have a robe. You could be dressed as a wizard, but underneath, you could have some of that sweet, sweet veteran medium armor that just made you such a badass. There was a feeling associated with it that you were hiding yourself from those around you. That you were stealthy. Hiding in plain sight. This didn't have any of that. You could even wear a single glove. What kind of game doesn't let you wear a single glove? That's just stupid. But anyway, the game itself is fine. Just don't like it. Final Fantasy IX. Final Fantasy is in number 57. Final Fantasy's OG PlayStation family saw two high-flying siblings stand either side. What? Final Fantasy's OG PlayStation family saw two high-flying siblings stand either side of a weird emo kid with great hair. I don't get, why are they the OG PlayStation family? Okay. Final Fantasy IX is probably the most straight-laced of the bunch, with its really saying something given one of your party members is a giant frog chef. Nevertheless, it uses that breathing to tell a classic fantasy story of Heroes of Princess and Michelin-starred Swamp Cuisine. I actually played this before I even got Final Fantasy, the rest of Final Fantasy VII. Never got to finish it though. I only played a bit of it, like a really short bit of it. I couldn't get into it. I think it was the way that the characters looked. I mean, it kind of looked weird. Anyhow, it's probably a very nice game. Number 56, Inside. One of the most bizarre, horrifying, and unexpected endings in all of gaming. Inside's noir aesthetic and lonely atmosphere are in keeping with Playdate's debut Limbo, but it ratchets up the mechanical and design craft to make this a clear standout. Have not played it. I own it. I've owned it for a decade. Well, not a decade, but a long time. But yeah, I liked Limbo, and I've been meaning to play this for a long time, and someday maybe I will. Number 55, Hollow Knight. It's still astonishing that a game as expansive, compelling, and finessed as Hollow Knight was made by an Adelaide-based team with just 3 developers. Although it's Dark Souls, god damn you, meets Metroidvania isn't Dark Souls also Metroidvania? Influence are immediately apparent. They transcend by the sheer detail and TLC, that's tender love and care, that oozes through the dilapidated remains of Hollow Nest and its curious inhabitants. To those who wasted untold hours before slaying its Radiance boss, we salute you. Have not played it, but it looks good. It's looked good for years. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that. Ico, number 54. Mario and Luigi, Nate and Sully, Call of Duty and teabagging. That's Halo, to be honest. You have feet in Halo. Gaming is full of unforgettable duos, but Ico is one of the more iconoclastic, twisting the boy meets princess fairy tale into a colder, more austere direction. It remains one of the most daring titles in PlayStation's frequently crowd-pleasing back catalog. Have not played it, but yeah, it is one of the most interesting games that came out around that time for the PlayStation 2. There's an entire era of games that don't really exist anymore. It was the mid-budget game that still looked good, but could really experiment, could really do stuff like this, like Ico, that the Xbox and its giant inflated budgets killed. And then Cliff Pazinski said, "Oh, well, who killed it? We don't know. Hurdy. Here's more Gears of War. Shooty, the bad guy. Ooh, chainsaw." But yeah, Ico, great game. Number 53, Dishonored 2. A game of almost peerless interconnected craft. Dishonored 2 contains not one, but 2 of the all-time greatest levels, the labyrinthine Clockwork Mansion and a brain-melting adventure through time. Arkane's grasp of complex, enjoyable systemic gameplay mechanics peaked here. Criminally, the game barely made any money, but we're sure that number 53 spot on this list is very bit as valuable to publisher Bethesda. Yeah, Dishonored 2, I played it, I finished it. Fantastic game. It's superb. It is not necessarily the peak, but one of the peaks of gaming that was birthed by Ultima Underworld, which is at number 98, 97 in this list. Bethesda absolutely hated it because the first Dishonored was a good game. It made most of their other first-party games look like crap, and this one did as well. So of course they shoved it down an airlock and tried to have it killed with the marketing, because that's what they do. They're petty and vindictive, and they suck. And now they're owned by Microsoft also. Maybe Arcane can survive Redfall, hopefully. Number 52, Half-Life. As anyone who has returned to GoldenEye 007 in recent years will attest, many vintage first-person shooters are best left to the ravages of time. Although Half-Life garnered rapturous acclaim in the late 90s for its then cutting-edge graphics and physics engine, its novelist Mark Laidlaw's twisting sci-fi narrative, and the immersive way it was told without relying on cutscenes, that means Valve's first classic of many still holds up. That and the fact that those headcrabs still haunt our waking dreams. Yeah, Half-Life was a great game. It still is a great game. It still holds up. It's still absolutely playable. But man, Black Mesa, the fan-made remake, really improves things a lot. How the hell is it classified lower than Final Fantasy X? Well, that's because most of this list was composed by console plebs. You know, the peasants we keep making fun of and pretend like their actual opinion matters. Okay, so 51. Final Fantasy X. Much like Lionel Messi's goals and Logan Roy's expletives, the Final Fantasy franchise is now storied enough for everyone to have their own favorite. Look past its oft-meaning laughing scene. Look past its oft-meme laughing scene, and Final Fantasy X is worthy of its place among RPG series' finest offerings. Not least for its innovation of Blitzball, one of the greatest fictional sports known to both mankind and Spira residents. I've literally not seen anybody mention Blitzball outside of Spoonie's reviews. Like, nobody. Quidditch is more of an influential fixed sport than Blitzball. Have not played Final Fantasy X. I know one character here has some really big assets that make the game worthwhile to play. But for the most part, I mean, it's probably okay. It's a Final Fantasy game. I mean, you know what you're getting into. And I think I'm going to cut this video in half because it's already 1 hour in and I'm only half through the list. So check back soon for the rest of the list. I mean, if you want to, I'm not obligating you because, as you can probably notice, my voice is already dying. And part 2 is going to be recorded right after this one. It's only going to get worse. Unless I get drunk, then it's going to be better. See you next time. Goodbye.